So friends, as I mentioned you that we have set procedure for payment of taxes under GST, maybe through ITC utilization or maybe by cash. So another question under the law is, if GST means IGST need to be exhausted fully for payment of taxes. Initially during the year 17, 18, 18, 19, this procedure was not there, but later on this was introduced, and it says that in order to utilize credits, means IGST credit, CGST credit and SGST credit, taxpayer need to exhaust IGST fully. Means if you have IGST of 1000 rupees, IGST credit I am talking about, you have in your electronic credit ledger in IGST segment or IGST account 1000 rupees there, and for that particular month, if your IGST liability is of 200 rupees only, so you have 800 rupees in excess here in IGST. Then CGST, if you have a liability of rupees 500 and state GST liability is again 500, then law says if this is the situation, here after meeting your IGST liability of 200 rupees, first use this amount for payment of CGST. So here, when you are using this 1000 rupees, 800 rupees IGST for the payment of CGST, again you have a balance of 300 rupees in your IGST account in electronic credit ledger. Then this 300 should be used for payment of this SGST. So here you have paid CGST fully from IGST. So matter is over. Here 300 rupees is used from IGST for the payment of state GST, but here 200 rupees is still to pay. Liability is still to pay of 200 rupees because my actual liability is 500 rupees and IGST is giving me only 300 rupees. So here if in state GST electronic credit ledger I have 500 rupees with me, I will pay this 200 rupees from this 500 rupees. So here the balance will be 300 rupees. So first we have to exhaust IGST fully, and after that if there is liability is there in respective CGST Act or state GST, we need to pay further. So it has its own implications. When you will actually go through this transaction, you will work out, you can make out what are the problems in this existing system of first fully use IGST. Now friends, come to electronic cash ledger. Till now whatever we have discussed, it was regarding electronic credit ledger, how transactions are depicted or undertaken. Now electronic cash ledger. So from where this cash comes to my electronic cash ledger, because electronic cash ledger is maintained at GST portal. Because in electronic credit ledger, entry comes through my procurement or through my output liability or through my refund application. So in case of electronic credit ledger, it says electronic cash ledger is an account of taxpayer, means the person who is registered person who is taxpayer under GST, maintained at GST portal, reflecting cash deposit towards tax, interest, penalty, fee or other through net banking, NEFT, RTGS. Means if there is any requirement to pay cash to meet the transaction, it happens so many times when you don't have any ITC, but your liability is there. So how you will meet your liability? The answer is by paying cash. So by paying cash means what? By paying cash means you have to pay either through net banking NEFT, RTGS, debit or credit notes, cards. So by using these means, you can transfer cash from your own account to your electronic cash ledger maintained at GST portal against your registration number. So in each state, if you are operating in 7-8 states in the country, in each state you will be having your credit ledger or cash ledger for that particular GST number, state wise. So you can deposit cash there first, and from that cash you will set off your liability on GST portal. Friends, apart from whatever amount you are depositing through these means in GST portal, your credit, this cash ledger will also receive money if your TDS is deducted under GST. This TDS is not the TDS we talk about under income tax. It is separate TDS under GST. So if in any case, in any transaction where you have supplied the goods and supplier is the person as defined under GST has deducted TDS from your payment, that TDS amount which has been deducted by your buyer will be deposited by that buyer in government account and ultimately it come to your cash ledger. So any TDS or TCS deducted by your buyer while releasing payment to you for supply of goods made by you, they will deduct TDS or TCS, will deposit it to the government at GST portal, and from there it will come to your cash ledger. So friends, whatever amount of cash here or here deposited by you can be used for the payment of any type of tax under GST, any interest if there, any fee means late fee, or any other charges if you are supposed to pay under GST because of some other reasons. They can be straightway paid through this cash ledger. So it is again a ledger maintained like we have studied electronic credit ledger. Whatever amount you will deposited, suppose you have deposited 1 lakh rupees, it will be credited to your electronic cash ledger on GST portal. And again this cash ledger will be maintained IGST wise, CGST wise, state GST wise. Separate 3 ledgers will be maintained. So you have to deposit separately in all these accounts. Whenever you have any liability, if there is a liability for IGST, you have to deposit cash in electronic cash ledger IGST. If you have liability for CGST, SGST or SGST, state GST, you have to deposit cash in electronic cash ledger of CGST, electronic cash ledger of state GST. From there, your payment will be set off. So if you have deposited 1 lakh rupees cash, out of this 1 lakh rupees, 50,000 was for IGST, 25,000 was for state GST and 25,000 for central GST. So 3 amounts in 3 ledgers will be credited. Total amount was 1 lakh rupees. So accordingly, when you will pay the tax, if it is IGST liability, it will be debited over here from here. If it is CGST liability, it will be debited from here. If it is state GST, debited from here. So if in particular case where you have deposited 50,000 rupees cash in your IGST, suppose your liability is 30,000 rupees, so remaining balance will be 20,000 rupees. Here liability was 20,000 rupees, remaining balance will be 5,000 rupees. Here again 20,000 rupees, balance will be 5,000 rupees credit in your cash ledger. So same way it is maintained because basic accounting is like this only. If you have some benefit, your balance will be credit. If you have liability, your balance will be debited. So like electronic credit ledger, we have standard format, that is PMT05. Electronic credit ledger was maintained in the form of GST PMT04 and cash ledger in PMT-05. Then what is PMT-06? It says it is basically a challan. So friends, whenever we are supposed to deposit cash, we need some document, because bank will, based upon that challan, will accept our money. So whenever we are going to deposit cash with bank at GST portal, we will raise a challan through GST portal only. We'll mention there the amount we want to deposit separately for IGST, CGST and SGST or UTGST. So in challan we will mention the amount we want to deposit and present that challan in physical form or through online system while paying tax through NEFT, net banking like this. And this challan is in form PMT-06. Having a standard format prescribed under the law, we have to use that. And this amount deposited will be used for the payment of tax, interest, penalty, fee or any other charges. Friends, is there any validity of PMT-06 challan? Yes. If we have generated this challan today, if today is 10th of June 2024, so if today we have generated this challan, it is valid for next 15 days. After 15 days, this challan will be closed. You cannot use this challan for payment. So you have to make it clear, whenever you are generating challan, it must be used within 15 days. Otherwise, if it is expired, then new challan will be generated for the same amount or same tax period. So friends, I explained already to you that whenever you are going to deposit cash in government account through your net banking, through your debit credit cards, through your RTGS, these modes are available and we can pay. This recently has been activated. So we can pay now through debit card or credit cards also. Yes friends, sometimes it happens that the taxpayer is of such class that they want to pay or they are in a position to pay only through check at bank counter, or in rural India especially, where people are not aware of or are not used to RTGS, net banking and all. They can pay directly at bank counter by generating challan on GST portal, attaching to it their check, giving particulars of check in their challan, but in that case condition is it should be only up to 10,000 rupees. Beyond that, it is not permitted. So apart from these cases, there are some other cases also where up to 10,000 rupees payment can be paid at bank counter through challan and check, and the cases are listed as it is. So whatever we have discussed, we were talking about the person who is registered under GST and who is a taxable person under GST, and they can pay through any mode which are been described under law. If there is any possibility that unregistered person who doesn't have any GST number, because in GST not only taxable person but any other person also responsible for payment of tax, if he found guilty or if he found to be fined or if it is found that he is liable to pay tax. So may or may not be having registration number. So any third person is also liable for payments under GST. So provision is there. If any person who doesn't have any GST number, he is not registered under GST, but his liability is there because of some of the other reasons, he can pay tax to the government in cash. Now there is one concept, mandate form. What is mandate form in GST? So whenever payment is made by way of NEFT, RTGS from bank, because whenever we want to have RTGS or NEFT, we have to approach bank only then in that form, name of the beneficiary, the person who is making payment, etc. are given. So we use this mandate form and we instruct bank to pay this payment. So I told you that whenever you are paying cash to the government for payment of taxes or otherwise at GST portal, you need to generate challan. So when challan is generated, one challan identification number is generated. This number will be accepted by bank because bank is also at par or online with you when you generated challan for specific or given bank or branch. That branch will be having access to this challan when you will present this challan for payment, and they will cross check it, and the validity of this challan I told you is of 15 days. So validity of this challan is 15 days. This challan identification number is there is a unique number will be used for payment of cash in GST portal and will be credited to your electronic cash ledger maintained at GST portal against your GST number. So whenever you will pay taxes, this account will be debited. And whatever balance will be there, suppose on 31st March of any financial year when you are closing your books of accounts, so if there is any balance in your this cash ledger, it will be under the category of current assets like bank balance. So friends, when we are having transactions online, whenever we are making payments or doing so many transactions online, there are technical glitches always, and it happens in GST also. So if such thing happen, it happens so many times when if we are paying fee to any particular organization or institution, it happens that our account is debited but payment is not made, or payment is made but not reflected in my account. It's like this. So it happens here also. If that is the case, then there is a remedy also, where bank account or the person concerned, means who is making payment to the GST portal or to the government, or person making deposit on his behalf, means his agent, is debited but no challan is generated, then what? The said person may represent electronically. I told you that GST is totally on IT based tax structure. So whenever there is any issue, you have to go through GST portal only in a set mechanism. So you need to file GST PMT 07 form mentioning the problem, and accordingly this problem will be addressed either by the department or by the bank. So I mentioned you earlier also from where balance comes to cash ledger. One is by generating challan, by paying through check, by NEFT, by net banking, RTGS, like this. And apart from this, in cash ledger, we also got payment if our TDS or TCS is deducted. So it happens in business and GST also. If you are a supplier and you sold goods worth rupees 1 lakh rupees to a government agency, because TDS and TCS under GST is applicable only where buyer is a government agency. Section 51 and 52 deals with the provision of TDS and TCS. So if in GST any supplier supplies goods worth rupees 2.5 lakh rupees, 2.50 lakh rupees against a contract, single contract of 2.5 or more lakh rupees, then this government agency, as defined under section 51 and 52, they will deduct TDS before releasing payment to the supplier. So this TDS amount will be reflected in your cash ledger. It will be reflected in your cash ledger, and you can use this amount for payment of your taxes, because the TDS advance tax deducted by your buyer and deposited to the government account, and government has credited to your cash ledger. And if you have deposited 1 lakh rupees in your cash ledger and you have 5,000 rupees another which is a TDS deducted by your buyer. So you have balance of 1,05,000 rupees in your cash ledger. You can use it for your payment. So if there is any excess balance in your cash ledger, maybe some other reasons, sometimes it happens that you have some apprehension or you have some expectations that you are going to get a big order this month and you have made a provision for that and you deposited cash because you don't have ITC or not having required amount of ITC, or sometimes because of department investigations or department search and seizures, it is forced to you to deposit cash because they have some apprehension that you have evasion of taxes. So they force you or they will ask you to deposit 5 lakh rupees cash immediately because you have violated the provisions of the law or you have wrongly availed ITC. And now ITC is not there in your cash ledger, your electronic credit ledger. Then department asks you to deposit 5 lakh rupees immediately and you have deposited it through generating challan. But later on when you challenge their order, when you challenge their interpretation and you won this case and you won the case, and when you won the case and amount is lying there in cash ledger, you will get refund. You have to apply for that and you will get it. So yes, such amount can be claimed refund under section 54. Section 54 deals with provisions of refund under GST. So friends, like electronic credit ledger, we also have a credit in cash ledger. So when we have credit balance in cash ledger, only then we can pay taxes. So at what point of time our electronic cash ledger will be credited? So different reasons are there. One reason is that I have deposited challan, so this ledger is credited, or when I applied for a refund as told you in previous slide, like electronic credit ledger, if in cash ledger I have 1 lakh rupees, I have applied for refund of 1 lakh rupees because I have paid excess amount. The moment I will file my application of refund, this amount of 1 lakh rupees will be debited to my cash ledger. So balance will be nil. Now this refund is rejected by the department. Some of the other reasons, my application may be defaulty or maybe time barred. I failed to apply within prescribed time. This credit balance which was debited, the balance is now nil. This will again be recredited. So I will be having 1 lakh rupees credit. So it can be recredited. Now next, what is form PMT04? There are different types of forms for different type of purposes. So whenever you are approaching government, whenever you are applying for anything on GST portal, you need to have online form. You have to fill form and then your application will be processed. So that is the way, that is the mechanism under GST at GST portal for different purposes. So it says a registered person shall, upon noticing any discrepancy, as we studied in electronic credit ledger, here also if you have any discrepancy in your cash ledger, you have to approach the authorities and you have to file application under PMT04. It happens in normal circumstances that there may be some discrepancy in your cash ledger also. Sometimes it happens that your buyer has deducted your TDS, but it is not reflected in your cash ledger, or it is credited twice. So in any case, you are supposed to approach authorities, apply in form PMT04 for the corrections. Because I told you that if at any point of time you availed or utilized wrong balance, wrong credit, it will be subject to interest at the rate of 18% and fine and penalty can also be imposed. So friends, in my previous slides, I mentioned you that if a person operating in 6-7 states, he has 6-7 GST numbers state-wise. So similarly, he has state-wise electronic credit ledger state-wise electronic cash ledger, state-wise electronic liability ledger. So for each state business, he will be having such ledgers at GST portal. So if a company A operating in Madhya Pradesh, also in Rajasthan, also in Maharashtra, also in Karnataka, having electronic credit ledger, electronic cash ledger in each of these states. So in a given case, it says, can amount deposited in cash in one account, suppose in Maharashtra, in Madhya Pradesh, company has deposited 1 lakh rupees cash in the month of January, because they were expecting some big sale orders and there will be a tax liability. So they deposited 1 lakh rupees there to meet the tax liability. But somehow, for some other reasons, they could not get these orders. And now this 1 lakh rupees lying in Madhya Pradesh in their cash ledger. And in near future, they are not expecting such other orders. So this amount is blocked there in cash ledger in Madhya Pradesh, because either they have to go for refund, which may take further time, or otherwise it will be lying there in your credit ledger, in your cash ledger. So law has made the provision later on. Earlier it was not there. So it says Form GST PMT-09 deals with transfer of amount from one account head to another electronic cash ledger. Form 9 enables any registered person or unregistered taxpayer to perform intra-head, inter-head transfer of amount as available in electronic cash ledger. Meaning thereby, if amount wrongly deposited, otherwise in electronic cash ledger, a registered or unregistered person can now file PMT-09 for transfer of any amount of tax, interest, penalty, fee, others under one major minor head to another major minor head as available in. So amount can be transferred. So if this 1 lakh rupees was deposited in IGST account, it can be shifted to CGST or SGST. Even if it is not to be used in Madhya Pradesh, amount can be transferred to Rajasthan also, provided you don't have any liability in Madhya Pradesh of tax. Because all these GST numbers are under one PAN number. PAN number of a company as a whole is 1 across India. GST numbers are different state-wise. They are state-wise. So this amount can be transferred from IGST to CGST, SGST, or can be transferred to Rajasthan, other states in same head or other heads, provided you don't have any liability in Madhya Pradesh.